Oh my gosh, everybody. Welcome to day 3 of ProBots 2024 season 3. My goodness, you know what it is. You know what time it is. It's elimination time. That means some bots are going to the scrap pile. They're not coming back home. Game over. No reboot. So we are here. We got 8 bots for you. We've come all the way through from the winner's bracket down to the lower bracket. Yeah, I'm going to use the word lower, not losers. Or will we losers? We'll see if BY will give me shit in a few seconds. Let's find out. Let's go to the casters. Losers bracket.
Losers.
Yeah, bunch of punks. That's
Here
it.
we are, guys.
We can call the next one the consolation bracket because it's like the one that you could get through, but this is just straight up losers.
I don't even know when we stopped. Like I feel like
Yeah.
this is the byproduct of our new era because I was calling them losers bracket since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then running Smash tournaments and stuff, and then somewhere along the lines, we started calling it the lower.
Somebody's
To me,
feelings got hurt.
I think it crept. I think it crept out of. So yeah, lower bracket is one thing because it's physically lower. I think consolation bracket. Consolation comes from if people went to the gold and silver game, the 2 people that lost that do still play for the bronze. So that's the consolation bracket. Because it is literally the consolation prize is you can still win the bronze. But yeah, calling it the lower bracket or the losers bracket, consolation bracket, I think is always wrong.
I've only ever heard consolation match. I've never heard consolation full bracket.
Yeah, never, not a bracket. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In like hockey or something, it's the consolation match for the bronze or like
back to the days when it was the MLG and you had like 2 large brackets. Then that made a lot of sense, but.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're getting up and off track. Let's talk about our bots today. Let's see some squares. Underscore, take us away and tell us about rectangles.
There are rectangles. And and over here on the left-hand side, we have the group stage rectangle, which we are now in the losers part of, which is basically 4 groups of 4 bots. We have played the first couple of each group. Now the losers of those first matches are playing each other. The loser from that will be eliminated, and the winner of that will go on to what I think is the consolation match, or like the last chance match to get through. And the top 2 will advance into the playoff format, which is the single elimination bracket, where 8 bots will play each other quarterfinals, best of 3, semifinals, best of 5, and finals, best of 7.
All right. Well, that makes a ton of sense. And if you're just here for the first time, I guess like if you've been just tuning in for the first time and you're wondering what we're doing here, these are the bot games. And I don't know how you just stumbled in. I guess I should do some introductions. I'm Drekken, and there's Endersword, and then there's BY, and then that's why you're gonna hit the subscribe.
Yeah.
So, see that? Just I'm taking lessons from Endersword.
Slant rhyming. Yeah.
So yeah, we're in the lowest bracket. So I don't know if we're gonna do we have a bracket ready to see people, show people what this
how did we get here?
Right? How did we
get here?
This is this group? Okay.
I think this is group A and B.
Okay, I was
because
because it's
the bottom half is the losers.
It's left
the top
and right.
Half is
left
the winners.
Yeah, left is A, right is B.
Okay,
and
so
the bottom is.
I'm gonna guess that we're only gonna get to see the A part and then the second half of our show we'll probably get to see the B part. So we'll go with this now. And so we had already. So this actually was Deimos Sharkbot came from, or SharpenedEdge came from. Who did he play to get down here? Oh,
he played
Sharkbot's cut off.
Yeah,
it's cut off. Yeah. And then Terrain and 12 Pool Bot. Okay, they all played. My screen's just really small.
Okay. Yeah.
So Deimos the only one in at least this half of the losers bracket that's taken a game winner side. So maybe a little bit of like hope for Deimos, but usually at least like this is where things are kind of going to get closer because you have like the kind of better bots going towards the winner side, the bots that are a little bit less going towards the bottom. So at least it'll be a kind of more even matchup because especially these 2 pools looks like it was pretty one-sided. All the matches.
One thing to also keep in mind too is that Deimos is baby Eris, and that was a big upset that we saw from Deimos and Eris. I mean, Deimos and Artie. Well,
Yeah.
I guess would we call it an upset? I guess because it's not Eris specifically. But...
Yeah, it's not Eris. I think the fact that it was a 2-1 game and it was kind of wonky.
Yeah.
In how both bots were kind of like bugging out a little
Janky.
bit. Yeah. So it was a little weird.
It was a bit janky.
Yeah. So still not quite sure what Deimos can do, but we'll see it in a PvP. That's usually a good judge of what's going on.
Well, let's talk a little briefly about like your guys' feelings on the lower bracket. I'll save for you guys to talk to the individual matchups amongst yourself, but like just how the necessarily the bots themselves have been performing overall. We'll talk about an overall because like you said, we're in the lower brackets. We saw a bit of jankiness. This is gonna be a little bit more even. Are we gonna be seeing 2-0s, you think? Or are we gonna be seeing some ace matches?
I think some of the, I don't know, I bet we'll get at least one ace match, but I think it's going to be majority 2-0 still. And I think there's still just enough of a difference here. I think a couple good bots get knocked down to the lower bracket, just kind of how it worked out. So I think they're going to kind of dominate through, but there still just is a skill gap between the lowest, like the 10 through 16 and like even the 6, 7, 8, 9. There is just still a gap there.
Well, this is before you beat BY. One thing, since you're newer, and one thing I actually wanted to highlight us going in, there are at least 4 veterans in this lower bracket. So Deimos obviously is aka Eris, but SharpenedEdge, Ketroc, and DomionDog.
Yeah.
You know, these are even BenbotBC. Sorry, these are a lot of these are actually like veteran bots down here in the lower bracket. So, I mean,
the point of there are some good bots that also end up down here. Ketroc is one that I know they made at least top 4 last season, right?
He's come at least
or at least up to. I feel like I cast him very late into the seasons, so Ketroc I'm like definitely looking to kind of do some 2-0s. I think also like if there are bots that have just a rough build order against like certain races and that just happens to keep coming up, I think that also is like kind of like the same thing of there are tiers, and if you're a little bit lower, like there's just not too much fixing once it's the same matchup and you kind of already have this like pre-built build order. If it doesn't work out the first time, sometimes that can kind of just be it, especially with these bots that don't have like super fleshed out plans. But I'm hoping for at least like 1 maybe 2 ace matches, and then I think they're gonna be 2 or 3 kind of stomps, maybe.
If there was something, if there was one play style you're looking forward to see for tonight, what would it be?
I think like I would enjoy seeing a lot of aggression, but I think what's gonna do the best seems to be kind of like what we were talking about last week, that more defensive style and being able to take the aggression. So being able to fight off either like a really early Ling rush, a weird Muta rush, cannons. So like, I think there's going to be a lot of aggression, and unless it's really good, I don't know if it'll do much. So I think like defending early game and being able to get to mid game, especially against some of these bots that kind of really lean on early game damage and getting stuff done fast.
And Richard, like, what would you, for you, like, what do you think a lot of these bot authors have been having trouble with this season with?
I think what it's generally been is kind of like early game aggression that hits in just a different way that someone's done before. So I think things like that have led to the downfall a little bit. So just kind of someone hits like this proxy marine. I wouldn't even call it a timing. They just do a big proxy marine push or something, and then that just kind of works. Like the way that you're set up may not have it. And I think you're in a mix too where there's a couple like Deimos being a veteran author, but a newer bot just doesn't have that fleshed out yet. And then somebody like BenbotBC who's down here, he's a victim to him trying to change what he was doing. So he did this like adaptation into like bunker rushing which he's always done like a soft bunker contain, but going more all in with it. And then that hurt him. He wasn't ready for that yet. So I think changes to yourself and changes to just, you're always going to face a new cheese. And I think the first time that you face a new cheese, if it's decent, it can take you out. And then you're going to have to retool.
I think,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry, just one thing kind of on that like topic is I think it's much easier. I don't know like, exactly how to code everything, but like the concept of like overall build orders and like playing macro is so much easier than like kill instinct is just like such a it just doesn't exist. It's just like such a hard concept. And so I think like with these early builds, you can have really nice like timings on gateways and zealots and these units, but the actual like killing blow and like knowing what to do in a specific situation is just so hard that like once you take out kind of the power of the units and you have like a pretty solid defense, that like micro of like someone who can smell blood in the water and like a person that has killer instinct, it's just so much hard to like actually finish off the last of the build and actually get that finishing blow. I think that's kind of leads into everything else that we were talking about of defense might be the better way to lean kind of in this meta.
Which is funny. I'll leave this to both of you, is that this season we someone put it in the chat really good, is up is down and down is up. And so we actually have a lot of newer authors. And so are we looking at this season as right now a lot of new authors are doing something right, or older authors doing something wrong, quote unquote? Like, are the young blood starting to figure out how to run it, or are people trying stuff up and they're failing, like Intersword said? Like, what are we looking at overall for this season?
My instinct is, if you're going to be a new author, you came in because you had an idea. So I think that's very often the case. If I'm someone at home watching right now and I'm looking at these and I kind of have an interest in it, then I'm probably going to come in not just with like, oh, I want to generically do that. I think the thing that really sparks people to do it is, hey, I think this would work. Or like, I think if I tried this approach, it might work.
Why don't
that's
they?
Probably based. Yeah, it's probably based on their observation. There's even one author, I forget which now, that was like specifically essentially saying that, like, I tried to do this because I think there's a gap here. I think this type of build would work. So I think that's often the case. Then couple that with the fact that if you're coming in as a brand new author, you've got some of these bots with hundreds of thousands of lines of code and you're starting, well, yours is going to be like, we've seen some with a few hundred, but like a few thousand tops, right? You got to come in with simple, crisp ideas. You don't come in and in your first like month be like, okay, here's how the lurker mechanics work. That's not what you're coding, right? It's lings, it's zealots, it's marines, it's reapers, it's that stuff. And then you build from there. But if you're coming in with that stuff, now you're like, okay, I'm focused on the first 8 minutes of this game, whereas they're focused on 40 minutes macro game. So all my attention is on this 1 week spot that I think I can hit, and they're trying to play against everyone. So I think there's a little bit of a, first mover advantage, or the first time anyone sees something. If it's novel, it can win, and then people have to design around it.
Yeah, I think kind of going just off the last thing you said of the first mover's advantage type stuff. I think also, like if you're able to make the game that you play kind of be your game, which if you're cannon rushing or something, the other bot's playing cannon rush defense. You kind of get to dictate kind of the pace of the game or how the game goes. So that really lends itself to, being aggressive if you don't have the experience or the time to, play a ton of test games and figure out exactly how you want to, navigate a 25-minute game. It's a lot faster, a lot easier to be, aggressive and kind of, be more in control of what game is being played, so that you don't have to deal with the 30,000 lines of codes for any game. You have to deal with the 200 lines of codes that have to deal with cannon rush on this map, and
essentially controlling the tempo. Because like if you end the game in the first 10 minutes, and the 10k worth of code is irrelevant to what your opponent has.
Yeah, or if you open up flower build, the builds that they were practicing against, triple expand is just not really going to come into play at all. It's just a whole different playing field. And then I also think with metas just in general, I think it's a little bit like deer wolf populations or whatever, where it's just kind of like over time, whatever's doing well, the other thing's going to do well eventually because people are going to be losing to the thing that does well. And so I think there's part of it is also just like based on when you come in, you just see what's working and what's not working. And like that kind of leads you, like Endersor was saying, it breeds innovation kind of. And so it kind of is like the natural flow of things to be like, this thing's broken. Well, now like the defense of that thing is broken. Well, now and it kind of, pendulum swings back and forth.
I'm gonna comment on your deer wolf things. I wonder if that's like the is it hawk dove in game theory. But anyways, before we talk about any more game theory, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like button, all the buttons. And if you haven't already, check out AIarena.net where a lot of these bots are playing, and you can get yourself your own bot. Actually, I think I have Do I have an exclamation mark for the templates? I hope not. I hope so.
Just yell wherever you are.
Yeah, wherever.
Template.
There is. There's definitely a description, one in the description. So check in the description. You can find the template for yourself. I wrote out a little guide for you to put your own bot together. I'm working on a video to go with it. And really simply you can be up and started tonight with your own bot, with your own ideas, using that template. So you can go to versusai.net. You can find the template there. Absolutely either which way. And then let your friends know, let your mom know, let your dad know, let your brother know that ProBots is on, and get them in here to watch this show. Okay. So, oh God, exclamation guide actually works. Holy crap.
Whoa.
Okay, so someone figured it out in the chat. Either which way. All right, I'm going to kick it off to you guys. You can take the rest of these games off.
Deal. And I think 12K lines of code is a good size. Deimos here on the left by Team Eris, of course. So it is the Protoss bot in the language of Python. Both of these bots are, and both of them are Protoss as well. So while this is Deimos's first appearance, it is not the first appearance of the author by any stretch. Eris, pretty dominant. So aggressive openings inspired by human builds combined with Eco, who is, of course, a dolphin.
Wait, what?
Eco the dolphin. You're too young.
I'm too young.
An old school Sega game.
Okay.
Echo. I know it's Echo, but it's whatever. Were there two C's or one? I forget. There's C's, yeah. All right. Weaknesses. It's game step value is hard coded to 2, which has something to do with the frames. That it only acts like every 2 frames instead of every 1. And vulnerable to cheese, which I think is what we kind of saw in the first week. Majority of macro combat maneuvers have been carefully orchestrated using reusable behaviors directly from the Ares SC2 framework. And yeah, this is the teamwork. Rasper coded the bot. I don't code this game. Played a major role in developing the core code in that framework. And yeah, so only 5 months old, this bot, probably a little bit more now, but as of answering that question. And yeah, trying, again, the goal here, not necessarily like winning, but made to improve the experience for Protoss bot authors when using the same framework. So they made one, basically. So we'll see.
That's your product.
Yeah, I think you're roboting on us. Yeah, it's doing it. Oh, and your video's broken up too. So something I think might be dead with your connection. Hopefully we'll get Ban Yoshi back. Yeah, maybe try and leave and re-enter and see if that fixes. SharpenedEdge here, able to react to most things. So SharpenedEdge, one of the oldest bots that we have, able to react to most things. Strong early pushes, smooth transition to the late game. Can use pretty much every unit in the game, including things like, storming High Templars and stuff like that. So a very experienced and resourceful bot. Stick with us, Philip Banks. Stick with us. Weakness, no updates as of late, so it hasn't really been kept up to date too much. Late game seems weaker. compared to some of the other high-end bots, but SharpenedEdge again does have a lot of flexibility here. And he is made with a different framework, the Sharpie SC2 framework, which is one of the best ones to use if you're just starting out in this whole coding program to figure out what's how to get started. Really good for Python users to pick that up. Yeah, it can make starting off with new build strategies, selection, things like that a lot easier and kind of give you a leg up in things. If you want to start in some of the other languages, you're very often like starting from scratch, which definitely makes it a lot more of a challenge. Do we have Ben Yoshi back? I don't know. Okay, cool. That is odd. Yeah. Yeah. Indeed. Yeah, basically that. Yeah. I think we are good. So yeah, hasn't seen active development in 2 or 3 years yet. SharpenedEdge has consistently still been in the top 16 here for our tournament. And yeah, for our new viewer joining, and for anyone who is watching this new, yeah, this tournament is based on the top 16 bots from a bot ladder that exists on sc2arena.net or aiarena.net. And yeah, some of these we actually do at the end of the season a bots versus humans competition. And it's one of those things where if someone is playing the bot kind of blind, then even some of the best players, like grandmaster players, have lost to some of these bots. But very often, if they know it's a bot or have any familiarity with the bot, then the best players can find ways to like metagame or outthink the AI type of thinking. So it does tend to make a bit of a difference there. If someone's kind of coming in blind, then it's a lot harder to deal with. But if you kind of know their tendencies, then they can do well. I'd say most of the bots are probably, again, blind versus not blind, I'd say are probably at like a diamond level in some cases. But it really depends. Some bots totally rely on, some are also better against humans than others. They're largely coded to fight the other bots. So they will do things that a human would very quickly pick up on that another bot may not. And then a lot of what they do is trying to rely on things like micro ability a lot more, just to physically outplay, which would be hard for a human. So some of the bots like past champion Eris definitely has beaten players up to the high masters level, especially if they're not prepared for what they're going to face, just by being so overwhelming with Zerg. But Micro Machine as well, I think once, I remember one GM in particular that was starting to lose and just kind of like clawed it back at the last moment. But he kind of, again, had to make that metagame realization of like, hey, I should switch to Blink Stalker because it's doing so much attacking in all directions that I could just never catch it. And so he had to be like, okay, I'm going to blink on everything to be able to pick off all the banshees and whatever. So we shall
imagine,
see.
Yeah, any of the roach, like burrowing roaches, I feel like against any human, any of the bots that use those would be extremely annoying.
Yeah.
A lot of like the worker rushes or like zealot rushes, I think, are a little bit easier. But yeah, certain things that the bots kind of can exploit do pack a punch when fighting humans.
Yeah, definitely. Some of them coded to use like cyclones really well is definitely a thing.
Yeah,
Speed cloak banshee really well is a huge one. Like Micro Machine used to be one of the best anti-human bots because it would come in with reapers, then cyclones, then cloak banshees, and then transition to battleship.
And like perfectly micro,
yeah, just perfectly micro, never in a group, always just everything acting individually. And then it would pull back, repair, go, and then it was macroing up to like 6 bases at the same time. And yeah, so that was a really good one. I think we are ready to jump into game number 1. So you'll see what's going on here in a moment. Let's hop in.
Deimos. SharpenedEdge.
All right, EVP. Both gonna start with a gateway, so no cannon rush shenanigans, and no pylon on the other side. So no crazy aggression. I feel like both of these mentioned that they might do early aggression.
Yeah, I think SharpenedEdge will generally do kind of like a 2-base timing sort of thing sometimes. Deimos I'm less sure of because I don't think we got to see really what it was going to naturally do itself in the first week. Kind of get dictated by the play of the other bots, but they will pass each other early here.
Yeah, and already Deimos doing the 2-gate setup. SharpenedEdge only doing the 1. So maybe gonna go for a little bit faster expand and then really punch with that 2-base attack if that's what they're going for.
Yeah, there is the Cybercore a fair bit later than his opponent. But yeah, no firm decisions yet. There comes the expansion on SharpenedEdge's side. And I do still expect one coming down from Deimos as he's floating over 200 minerals. So unless he does start 2 adepts right away, so maybe going for a harass.
Yeah, and I wonder if this will be like adepts into Stargate or something, which can be very common if you keep building those adepts and kind of save up that gas.
Yeah.
But it does make the expansion very delayed. If you like constant 2 gateway production, you just do not get those 400 minerals stacked up very quickly. Oh, and it is a Stargate.
There is a Stargate off of the 1 base.
Zealots starting when the gateway or when the Cybercore finishes is a little bit odd. It's usually like the one unit you really don't want to build early on, and especially once, like the only time you build it is if your Cybercore is not done and you need a unit.
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
But the Zealots started while like warp gates. I don't know. It was a weird timing.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It's kind of you either squeeze it out before that or you don't.
I guess maybe I don't know. The probe saw the 2 adepts, but yeah.
And this is kind of why is once these adepts are out, that Zealot's just kind of not good for anything.
There's not really a unit it fares well against other than a Zealot, you know?
Yeah. So adepts do get in here. They're relatively unchallenged at the moment. The Stalker trying to find his way, does a little confused on where to go given the shades and location of 2 adepts. That one did not get away. Does get picked up.
And more adepts are coming in.
Yeah.
This is kind of the example of both sides of like how the bot would take advantage of humans, of like 2 different adepts microing 2 different, groups of workers away. But then you can also see the Stalker just like having no idea which, side to go to, and the kind of the downside of a bot trying to calculate everything.
Yeah, it's trying to make the decision, on whether to follow the shade, whether to follow the unit, not knowing, of course, whether or not the unit is going to complete the shade or not. Here comes the Oracle out of the Stargate. I think we did see this in week 1, that he got some damage done with it, but he will back out as the shield drops. Stalker just kind of happened to be the right place for that.
The fact that the Oracle targeted workers is kind of like blowing my mind. like I feel like that's just such a cool addition that, I don't know, I would assume goes overlooked a lot of, that's really cool. Because the Stalker was right underneath it. So like it wasn't a hold, like it was a very deliberate, this is for worker harass, and then I'm going to leave. And I think that distinction is really cool to have.
Yeah, I think he's got him fully pulled apart here, despite having the 2 bases. Only 6 workers are left alive, and only 4 army. There is nothing even under production anymore, as he's just playing out of minerals on SharpenedEdge's side. Also, even though more probes were alive for longer, but they spent so much time transferring back and forth between the 2 bases that he lost out on a lot of mining time, even before they were all killed off. But I think this is going to wrap up soon as 3 Stalkers join the front line, a 4th coming in, and that is it for army supply. So it is now just a game of picking the rest off. There's the Oracle going to town on the remaining probes.
I think this is going to be a brutal build to deal with in PvP. Because if you don't wall off and actually build that pylon to like block the adepts coming up, which I don't know if any bot has that coded in to look out for the well, and shades already work so funkily,
Yeah.
you know, in the game engine. So I think next game could be a very quick game as well if this is a similar build order.
Yeah, we have actually seen a few do that in the past, like the
pylon block?
The pylon block, because there was one bot that has stopped playing, but named -0, that did make really good use of adepts a few seasons ago. So people had to really kind of come up with a response there, because he did mass adept, like 30 adepts sort of thing.
Oh Jesus, yeah.
And would just pull you apart. So people had to learn to cut the path off. But yeah, without that, it is a tough decision to make, because you could just end up walling yourself in, and then people don't quite know what to do with that.
Yeah, trying to code in when to kill your own buildings.
Yeah.
It's real messy, I'm sure. Well, and if you expand so fast though, then it's like the wall off isn't even the stopper. You know, the adepts and Oracle are still super annoying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just I don't super see like what SharpenedEdge would do that would shut that down just like outright. I guess maybe like stalkers at home and just have a really nice army like supply count, but it's a really hard thing to deal with for humans. And I think with bots that don't have like the adaptability, it's just such a good build. PvP is so hard if adepts get into your base.
Yeah, if you're on the wrong side of it. I think you're right though. Just skipping that zealot, if that's a stalker instead, getting more out earlier is probably the way to deal with it. But we'll see if he can come up with that response as we jump into game number 2.
Deimos. SharpenedEdge.
All right, I'm curious to see if Deimos does the same thing, because I think if they do, this could be another 6-7 minute game.
Yeah, could indeed be. I mean, so far things are looking that way, but we don't have much to go on at this point. Both of them kind of taking a peek around. Deimos making sure that there are no proxies on his side. I think that is part of the reason that he ended up down in the lower bracket, is because doing this sort of opening can you leave you pretty open. You're going into Adept and into Oracle. There's not a lot defensive for you to do. If somebody just attacks with some reasonable number of units, then that's gonna, put you on the back foot for sure.
Yeah, they're all squishy units that do great at harassing, but do not really stand a chance on their own. It does help that they do delay that second base a really long time, so staying on one base to like keep the ramp and keep kind of a small choke is nice, but yeah, if someone else is doing a proxy, I could see it going very poorly, having 2 adepts trying to defend anything.
Yeah, quite true. This time the probe in here taking a longer look around. If he gets a look at something like the Stargate coming down, that may help out. If he sees maybe the first 2 adepts, which are starting here, maybe he'll make a different decision. Yeah, he does. So 2 adepts on his own side.
Well, and already the 2 gate was different than the opening of the last game. So
the
SharpenedEdge already. I don't know if it's
either adapting or just picking a different build. Sometimes, if you lose, you simply change your build anyway.
Exactly, yeah. And then sometimes it's also they just have like a 30% chance of, they just have 3 different build orders or something. But yeah, it looks pretty mirrored, other than SharpenedEdge going a little more eco with the natural, and then Deimos going a little more tech heavy with actually getting into Stargate. And so it'll be basically on Deimos to get some damage done, because SharpenedEdge will have obviously the advantage economy wise, but I feel like Deimos, this is kind of the dream situation. I think they want to avoid those adapts and just get worker damage. They only have 1 base to deal with, so they can defend hopefully better too. We'll see how this goes now. Yeah,
see what the reaction is. If he sends units back, what's the plan here? 2 stalkers. There's one. A second one's going to pop out soon too. Still getting another zealot, which I don't love. But yeah. But now he's got adepts in the mirror line.
The Stalker got on the one adept on the other side pretty fast too. So the Stalkers are doing a lot better than the last game. And he's getting a pretty reasonable amount of damage on the other side as well. I don't know now that the Oracle's come out if it cleaned it up or if that Oracle is just set to kill probes anyway, so it won't even try to help. Yeah, no, Oracle went across immediately. So that's kind of the downside of having it.
Yeah, he's just not getting work done with these two on the Deimos side. Like, they've been there long enough, just as long, and actually more unchecked, if anything.
Yeah.
But they haven't gotten the work done. They were spreading out. One thing you'll often see bots do, and I don't know exactly how you code around it, is going after the things that are going into gas. And then you end up not killing them. You damage a bunch of them. And then they rotate out and rotate out. You never actually finish them off. Here the Stalker's doing a better job than last time of like trying to clean up here. And they kind of got the adepts a little bit roped off in the same area. But there's been a huge worker loss. There's only 4 left.
It looks like these adepts are just moving too much. I think they're maybe shades see like an army unit somewhere, but it looks like they're just on move command the entire time, so they just don't have time to actually get the kills. But yeah, regardless of that and the Stalkers doing a better job over here, it does look like Deimos is just gonna
he is dead, pretty hard, unfortunately. Yeah, and it's still, despite the fact they had those trapped for a bit, it just took a while to clean up. Way too long to actually take everything out. And now he is just a little bit overrun. There's just these 2 Stalkers left. Play him ring around the rosy with one of those, and then that is it.
It's kind of funny that it doesn't look like Deimos ever brought back units also to like deal with those 2 adepts. So like if they did get, proxied or whatever, like the way that the units act is very just get to the other side, and like there's a lot that almost was like unlearned, right? It feels like because it feels like usually it would be like, I don't know, you're A moving, or like you'd almost happen to like be pulled back or like attack the units at home, but not Deimos.
It's this just this little dance here, and I don't know what exactly it is they're like afraid of, because they keep trying to shade out, but then they were canceling the shades most of the time. And so I don't know what it was that was kind of triggering the retreat instead of attack. Because they were definitely there a long enough time to do a lot of damage, and grouped up too, so they would be able to just pick.
And right next to the mineral, it wasn't like they were far away from the workers, or it was if they were on hold command or just not touched, they would have done infinite more damage.
Indeed. So there we go. Deimos moving on to the consolation match. SharpenedEdge, unfortunately, our first bot eliminated in this one, in the losers match. Dull Blade a little bit here, needs to sharpen up on the adept play in particular.
Not the sharpest play in the something.
Yeah, not the sharpest
the bot
blade in the collar. I don't know. Whatever. Something like that. But Deimos will carry on, and it looks like it's built to be like quite aggressive. But like you said, I think if somebody does mount a good attack, or even just a good defense against that, I think you could shut it down reasonably. But it definitely looked like it was open to counterattack. SharpenedEdge just didn't quite execute on that all that well.
It honestly seems like a PvP killer. Like that kind of like style and aggression like seems like disgusting in PvP. Terran and Zerg, I'd be a little more afraid. If you got some Marines and some Lings, and it could get a little bit scarier.
Yeah, for sure. So we will hop into match number 2 of the night, which is going to be Terrain versus 12 Pool Bot. And you can't see it from this font, but the AI is capitalized, making it Terrain AI. And Terrain which is a Terran in a torrential downpour. It works three ways: terrain, rain, AI. It's all in there by Winter.
And like Terra in the rain.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I'm a Terran in the rain. And his opponent by a Phantom SC, it is 12 Pool Bot. I believe this is his second appearance at this point. 12 Pool Bot does do I hope this clock is wrong, by the way. The 12 Pool Bot does tend to open with, well, in the first season, open with Ling Rushes, literally does a 12 pool, but actually found more success with its backup build, which was a Roach Rush. And yeah, 12 Pool Bot only really viable in ZVZ. Tends to be a bit true. It can work in other matches, but yeah, probably the best there. But did again have some success with the Roaches, and I think in the first week of this series, we saw the Roach Rush be the opener instead. Uses a custom Dijkstra implementation over the usual A star, which the A prime, to find paths for all units at once. Not sure if that's actually better, but it's my first Scythe. Is it Scython or Python? I don't know if that's a typo or whether that's a computer
Or if I don't
thing.
know
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. So this is it's no longer the shortest bot in the competition, but it is 845 lines of Python code. The shortest bot in the competition, I think, is coming up later, which is now 246 lines of code, something like that. So yeah, I think this will be a decent one. Phantom, 12 Pool Bot. Again, likely cheesy, likely aggressive. Does actually have some transition out of it though. So despite the fact that the code base is quite small on that one, does actually have like a way to transition into stuff like mutas if buildings float away or anything like that. So it kind of does have a couple layers to it beyond just those initial rushes. And there are two entirely separate builds contained in those 400 lines of code.
Very beautiful. On the other hand, Terrain in their notes has said, it only has a single build, so it legit does the same thing all the time.
Excellent.
So we'll see how the two openers go against each other.
Yeah.
And if 12 Pool Bot switches between the two builds that they have, but could be very similar games between, games 1, 2, and possibly 3. But we'll see. I feel like Roaches are really good before like tanks are out, before like the natural wall is up. I really like Roaches.
For sure.
Lings, I feel like get pretty rough pretty fast against Terran.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
A wall tends to kill all Lings.
A lot of hope.
But let's hop in and find out in game number 1.
Terrain. Twelve Pool Bot.
All right, that's a fast pool.
It is indeed. It is indeed a fast pool. And we got, racks on the other side. It is at the wall. Or at the ramp, sorry. To build a wall, maybe.
Hopefully.
Hopefully for him. Usually the standard. If that's the case, then 12 Pool Bot may literally be running into a steel wall.
Yeah, the gas is so late that it seems like it can't be for Ling speed, at least at the time of like the pool actually finishing.
Yeah.
So it makes me feel like this is a fast Roach.
Yeah. And he does get the second hatchery going, but that's usually just for
Don't be
larvae.
fooled.
Yeah, it's not for any sort of economy or anything like that. So don't worry. Yeah.
Don't get the wrong idea.
Here comes the Roach Warren. Yeah.
That makes sense. Are they do they do Ravagers with it? Or is it just Roach? Do you know?
I think it's just Roach. I don't think we saw Ravager before. Ravager firing would be a whole other.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, it's like
At
that's
least another 20
200.
lines.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't need that
indeed.
30% increase of
Yeah.
code.
Exactly. So there is a Reaper that's going to come on the way, and Terrain does put down an expansion. Something that tends to make a pretty big difference, particularly in these early like Zerg Rush type builds, is whether or not there's a ramp up to the natural or not. And in this one, it is flat. So these Lings initially will get in. They actually went fairly early. We've seen him in the past hold some of the initial Lings, time it up so that the roaches like arrive at the same time, but he goes
Okay.
with the first 2. I think though we'll get 7 roaches and then a switch back to Lings, and then you'll see as the roaches hit the front door, the wave of Lings is now with them.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I think that's kind of what he's done in the past, at least. We'll see if he does that.
Well, it looks
That
like
again?
it kind of works out gas-wise as well.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of use
Yeah.
all your gas, go links for a little bit, use all your gas.
Yeah, so there's 6 Lings following up. And I guess we had, I think it was 8 roaches in total.
Add-on.
Oh, don't follow this too long, please.
Yeah. Yeah, that would screw him up. Okay, he can't see him anymore, so safe.
But maybe that's worse because now when
Yeah.
they see him up there, do they?
Yeah, will they go back? I
around.
don't know if they'll go back. There's a queen there. The Ling's over
They're
on
turning.
that.
They're turning.
I'm hoping they're turning just to group, but I don't think that may be the case. And a tank is on the way, which can be decent at just shutting this whole thing down.
Is that Reaper gonna go down? It's still there. All the blue is back in the base, but the Reaper
Yeah.
finally goes down.
Okay, does
Blue's
get
moving
it.
across.
So he'll clump together. They'll have a lot more Lings when they first hit. The concern is that there's going to be a tank there by the time they come out. If it, however, moves to the low ground like these Marines did, that may be just fine. And there will still be a fairly decent bulk that hits this. The tank is going to move down.
Yeah, and this is where that flat
Yeah.
natural entrance really,
Really
comes into
hurts.
play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the tanks on
tank-
high ground, but the roaches
Oh.
are nowhere close.
Yeah, and indecision here. I think if that first group of Lings just went, provides massive cover for the Fallout Roaches, I think he's still going to be okay here anyway, just taking a lot more damage than he had to. And now this like 5 Roach force is nowhere near as strong, but Lings come in to support here. And he's actually pulled away the wall.
And he's building 2 medevacs. Like,
Yeah.
the biggest, like, the most amount of money that is going to come out in units right now are medevacs that are going to have no impact. So this is, it looks like GG. it was so close to being held where if there was, if those medevacs instead was like one more tank, because the first tank did great, and if it was on high ground, would have done even better, I assume. But
Grabbing a Viking now too, a Hellion.
it's just a
Speed is
weird-
done.
or
Yeah.
weird units to choose to build right now.
I think it's partially, I don't even think it's like adaptive at all. I think it just, this is what I was going to build.
Yeah.
Yeah, and gets the overrun here. So yeah, while that Reaper did delay things, I think it possibly worked out in his advantage in that the tank had time to like move down. He had time to move the buildings out of the way, and then there
Yeah.
was no wall anymore. So it may have oddly looped, although had the initial impact hit, eight roaches and a handful of Lings onto a supply depot with essentially no defense, also probably would have just broken
Yeah,
it.
because the tank was pretty late, where if it didn't stop in the middle of the map and come back, I feel like it timed out better. But
Indeed.
yeah, I think, yeah, another tank, huge. The entryway of the natural being different, that could have been pretty big. But I mean, honestly, a pretty decent timing from a 12 pull bot. Roaches are pretty scary. If you have a good number and they actually get on your stuff.
Indeed. Where'd the muta go? There's he lost them to what? Oh, there's a Viking still in there. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So he does at least transition to this, and you can see he's taken 8 bases for just no reason. But he does transition to the mutas. He's building one at a time. He'll eventually get it.
Because he's on 1 gas still. So the it looks like the muta rush.
Yeah.
The amount of gas that they have.
Indeed.
You get 3 out there.
speed it does. Yep, so taking that. So good to have that backup plan of if buildings left, we got to finish it off. I thought it was neat too. The terrain had one SCV left, which it picked up into the medevac. So it was trying to preserve that so that it could rebuild.
Perfect. Yeah. Base trade type game.
Yeah. So there we go. And we'll see if 12 Pool Bot does the same sort of thing. But again, I think map differences make a huge difference. Also, now that we've seen that 12 Pool Bot will chase a Reaper all the way home, if that Reaper happens to stay alive a bit longer, then suddenly the first time you come out, there's not just one tank, but there's two medevacs and a Viking for some reason. and maybe we'll get something different. So
yeah, I think the timing's always just so huge with these kind of rushes. So yeah, I think more time. Yeah, I just want another tank. Two tanks are like so freaking good.
Because he didn't handle the tank well. Although later, and you're gonna have speed done by the time you hit, whereas this ones came in slow. Let's see. Let's just hop in.
Yeah.
Game number 2. We'll find out.
Terrain. Twelve Poolbot.
All right, looking like another roach build.
Indeed.
Because the gas has not gone down yet. And these naturals are flat again, right? The like natural entry.
Yeah, you're right there. There is a lot of space outside, a little bit of a choke, but that's not going to help too much here, and a lot of room, a couple angles that they can come in here. So yeah, I don't know that will help terrain because it's a tiny bit more chokier. Maybe could use that. Depending on the tank location, you can also kind of high ground the tank. I don't know if he does any of that sort of positional play. And yeah, speaking of ProBots and speaking of 12 Pool, if you hit that like button, you'll be the 12th one to do it as of the time I'm saying it. So like and subscribe, all that good stuff. It helps with the visibility of this, particularly when we're doing the live streams first. If we, get that like count up, it helps people find this sort of stuff. There is the Roach Warren.
And make sure you spread the good word of the ProBots. Yeah, we got roaches coming out again. We got the Reaper. We'll see if the Reaper can survive. The Lings got a little lucky last time where the Reaper... I feel like they did take a route specifically to avoid the Reaper, kind of. But we'll see if the Reaper finds them, because they got to cancel on the... they got the SCV building the command center, so like a pretty decent delay. Oh. Okay. I was hoping the Reaper would not pull the Lings away, because this is like the best case for the Lings. And so if they were pulled back anyway, it would be a little brutal. Hopefully they get that SCV.
Yeah, if they can slow that down, it would be a good pickup. Reaper here, taking a peek, not getting too close.
Just being annoying.
Roaches go for him. If they trap him here, then that's great. That eliminates that whole problem. So now, particularly with that stop, I think we're going to get to see the kind of intended function of this build.
Full power, yeah.
Yeah.
The Tech Lab coming. Oh, there's a third base coming as well. That seems like that can't be right.
I wonder if that's like intended to be a third, or more like he took, like he's stopping me at the natural, so I'm going to do this. Yeah. But roaches are going to come in here shortly. No. Yeah, see the Marines going right to that spot also
as
makes
if it was the natural, yeah. Well, and it's just terrible that it's 800 minerals of just like
dead. Hopefully he cancels at least. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
But yeah, it's a bit late.
The
that
tank just started.
Tank is just beginning. You buy some time down here. Buy some more time at the wall, but you really need this done like that. it's only halfway done. It needs to be there and sieged ready.
I mean, they're gonna kill the.
All right, canceled again. It will get out just as he's coming up. Where is it?
Oh my God! Why do they keep going down?
Yeah,
it's giving me so much stress.
All right, decent. He needs to get some repairs on this though.
About to go
Is he
down.
gonna hold? No, loses one, saves the other, but
They can just get out of the tank range.
yeah.
Tank has to re-siege.
He does have a second one on the way at least, but yeah, once you kind of get on top of it, that's going to be it. At least they show no inclination to do that.
I was gonna say,
there we
yeah,
go.
ignoring it is the only way that you lose to this. You
Yeah.
can get out of the range or get into the range and go fight them, but
second
they're
one
kinda
coming
doing
up. Yeah, Lings did get on top of it. Now they're flooding in, and so many workers also died in that defending the wall in the first place. That,
yeah,
there really
and
was no
trying to
recovering.
build both the SCV. Like I felt like they were rallying SCVs kind of both of those command centers, trying to finish them up.
Indeed. There is the pickup again, and now we're waiting for mutas. At least there's no Viking left to kill them.
The first three,
Yeah. And they come out trying to swarm these locations. He is at least still trying to find a way to like land and continue.
Do you know my favorite part about that?
Yeah.
Is that the buildings are trying to land with a tech lab.
Yeah.
Last game they just cancels
Yeah,
10 times in a row.
Yeah. Okay, now he's burning anyway. But the muta is out to clean this up, and it looks like 12 pool bot will end up advancing here. Terrain, first appearance we've had in the tournament. Hope you see him again with a little bit more fleshed out, as he mentioned in that only one build programmed in. And yeah, something like this, kind of a fairly sharp timing attack, just wasn't really prepared for it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where honestly, even though it is the same build, few things can go differently. Where like that the two lings avoiding the Reaper both games, I felt like got infinite more damage than they should have, because it's literally two lings, no speed, and with no follow up like for another 2 minutes. Like it's just those two lings. In game one, they at least delayed the command center. Game two, they basically had 800 minerals tied up from what they did. So if that first adept or first Reaper kills those two lings and then also stays alive on the other side, it's just like a lot of stuff that
very
starts
different.
going Terran's way. But the way it worked out, Tofu Bot did look very dominant, and we have our first half of our night.
Yep.
Settled
Indeed,
and
we
scored.
do. So yeah, quick first half. I think the second half may be a little bit longer, but we're going to cut to a 5-minute break here to queue up the third and fourth match of the night. So stick around, and we'll be back in 5. Can they hear you though? Either way, we are back in reality. We are here with match number 3 coming on up. It is going to be Tartarus versus Ketroc in what I think we're going to end up describing as the stomp of the century. Yeah, let's pull Drek in here.
I'm here. I'm alive. I'm like, sorry. I started off. I'm like, oh, rip. Yeah, wow. And got the timer. So I won't take too much time in the beginning here. Everyone, we had some great games. 2-0s. I guess that's still great. I'm gonna still call them great, even though they were 2-0s, because comparatively, I could have had no games. Oh, okay, good, cool. We're back from the break, and we're gonna go to the second half. And before we go to the second half, my esteemed job is to remind you to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and then check out AIarena.net. If you want to get a bot up in there, that's the place to go. And then !guide in the chat to get yourself a link to the template. Actually, I'll let someone else. You guys in the chat have been really good. Someone hit !guard for me. And if you're watching it later on the VOD, actually, which is the majority of you who watch this show do, check the description. Inside the description, there is a link to our template. I want you to give it a try. And you know what? If you want to also code with me on Mondays, !join, you can do some mob programming. We are actually coming to the end of this project we're working on. So you're going to be starting a new project, and I'm going to be taking submissions of what you want us to work on, which type of bot that you want us to work on next. Mob programming is essentially, it's like if you're in part of the membership, so it's a driver, navigator, and we kind of rotate. And then those of you in the chat help us build a bot together. So that's on Mondays at 5:30 p.m. And yeah, let's just do all those things versus AI.net, and let's see this bracket. Bracket
it up. Oh, that was the rectangles again.
They almost
returned.
returned.
Bracket of rectangles.
They almost returned.
The smaller rectangles.
So yeah, down here in the bottom left part of this rectangle pattern, we have Tartarus versus Ketroc. Tartarus attempted some muta. It's weird to call it a muta rush, like a 3 muta rush or something.
Yeah. I mean, they rushed into mutas.
Yeah.
The mutas
were
didn't like
there.
show up, but like they had the technology for mutas.
I think
early.
if it's crisped up, we talked about this and we'll see. It'll probably happen again, but there's ways to tighten this build a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Some queens or so. Yeah. If you have more larva, maybe you can do
But
something.
I'm feeling
Maybe
this is a little bit like, this feels like a round of 8, or like we have BenbotBC in here and we have Ketroc in here.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is an upper bracket.
And DomionDog, yeah.
And
But
DomionDog.
Ketroc is never, I don't think he's ever lost in like the first match
who took him out?
he lost to Zozo, just kind of the cheesy stuff. Cheesy toss.
Cheesy toss.
Yeah. Which
The
is
Deers
kind of
win this one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Aggression's got to be the
But
wolf.
I think
but
Ketroc, it will be a little bit like running into a brick wall here, I think, for Tartarus. Ketroc's not going to, especially given how he opens.
Hold on. Because like Zozo, I would have said the same thing against Zozo and Ketroc, but here we are in the lower bracket.
It's a little different, though, just because of the timing of the two things. It's one thing, almost anyone can just be blindsided by like 8 zealots or something, like in 2-3 minutes into the game, versus are you going to be surprised by mutas 8 minutes into the game? There's no way that Ketroc doesn't have Marines and turrets and Vikings, and he's going to have
like 5 Marines. Like
he's
6
going to
Marines.
have everything
It's not
necessary to defend it.
Yeah.
Whereas like really, really early, if you opened economically or something, you could just get caught. But it's like the later that is, the less true that's going to be.
And I don't like to steal your guys' thunder because you guys talk about it soon. But like, what does Tartarus have to do right then?
I think hit CRISPR. Yeah, it hit. You could even do the same gameplay. I don't know that it would work anyway because Ketroc's just a very good bot. But if Tartarus wants to like tighten up, and we'll probably mention as we go through this game because I think it's kind of a good thought experiment of like how to design things to line
100%.
up. So we'll probably mention it as we see it happening. But you want to have a timing is literally having multiple things finish at the same time and line up properly. So the resources that you mined, the research that you've done, the teching up you do, and the army available have to hit together. And we'll kind of see. And you very often want to look at in this, is there anything I can remove from it that makes it faster? Or is there anything I can add to it that doesn't delay it, that adds power to it?
Yeah.
And I think it's more the second in his case.
Yeah, because one of the things I would like to see bot authors constantly trying to solve is A, Eris, and B, Ketroc. I feel like these are bots that are need to, like they lose, but I feel like their loss isn't as, it's usually when they're blindsided versus like you've solved it. Like Micro Machine is a bot that's quote unquote solved in a way that like a lot of bots have figured, the upper echelon of bots kind of figured out how to handle Micro Machine, and then he becomes like your bar of like the lower bots getting into the upper bots. You figure out how to pass Micro Machine. He's the gatekeeper.
Gatekeeper.
Right? And so I find Ketroc is one of those. Ketroc and Tier are some of those other bots that are kind of gatekeepers as well. Because Ketroc is one of those bots that you'll crash into as a bot, and he's very defensive, right? And he'll wear you out. So I'm curious to see how Tartarus handles it. This may not be the game, so we'll see. And what are your for yourself? Why any like how would you say to solve Ketroc, quote unquote?
Oh, I think solving's gonna be rough. I mean, you have to have like an answer to Ravens, because that's like Ketroc is just Ravens, and I think that's just such a weird unit to try to have an answer to. That like, it's not gonna be like your first year of ProBots, your first 2 years, your first three. Like that's just not that one unit is not your focus. I think that Ketroc's just such a weird style, and because they want to get to the Ravens, their early game is robust enough that it can get past a lot of those early cheeses and aggression. So you kind of have to play the mid-late game and have to have a plan against Ravens, which I can't imagine that's what Tartarus brings.
I guess to say, because
match.
one of the things I always like to say or like to think about is like you guys mentioned earlier that a lot of these newer bot authors are beelining to like the solid early game, and Ketroc is one of those bots that has, I think, a pretty good defense and for the early game. And so when I say solve, it's like how do you get past that like first hurdle of him, because he's just trying to get up to Ravens, right? He's get his planetary force addresses up and hold down the bunker as long as possible until he can get his machine engine running. All right, so I'm gonna let it off to you guys, but before I go, don't remember guys, hit that subscribe, hit those likes, and we'll get into it. Casters, here you go.
Indeed. So yeah, so basically kind of already talked about this matchup in particular, but we'll zoom into the stats here, see these bots in detail. Tartarus, of course, a Zerg bot coded in Python, was originally a Zergling rush bot, although in some cases it does a Mutalisk rush. We really have only seen the Mutalisk rush instead of the Zerg one. Wall-offs are the biggest nightmare. Obviously, as a Zerg bot, that would be the case. But if we're going to see more of the Mutalisk play, then that's less of an issue. Has an adaptive... This we didn't really get to see, but I noticed the first time. The idea of like an adaptive Zergling wave size. Very often you'll see bots, particularly early built ones, that will be like, okay, I mass up to 20, then I go. Then I mass up to 20, then I go. So something that is adapting, or at least trying to adapt to, okay, I need to wait for 30 this time, or I need to build based on the time of the game or whatever to be effective, I think is a good idea. And yeah, this one is now our smallest in the tournament with only 286 lines of code in the bot itself. And his opponent, a safe, macro-oriented fan of Ravens. Basically tends to open with things like planetary fortresses, tends to open really safe. Ketroc's a really, really patient sort of bot. He does say in the chat, Ketroc is here, that if he's never played Tartarus before, which I think is the case, it may start gathering data by using older, terrible builds. But I think for a long time, at least a lot of builds are still viable, and he's really only going to play with like a minimum level of, I guess, defensiveness to just kind of, not lose to anything completely stupid, basically. And his weaknesses, maybe, are there any? Probably early, aggression, harassment, Eris. Eris, luckily, not in the tournament for him. But yeah, early aggression, early harassment, anything that can pull you apart early, definitely is something. Coded from scratch, so it won't share a lot of noticeable tendencies with other bots, which is true for sure. Won't fall into some of the same patterns, and does a lot of behaviors quite different. There's a lot of independent action to a lot of the units, and the way it works is good. I get time. This season's focus will try and include drop harass and anti-human strategies for the humans versus bots part, which is nice. I think Ketroc does definitely have one of the potentials to be one of the best for that. I think it already kind of is. Again, stuff like that, Raven and like Banshee and stuff like that can really frustrate what a human player is trying to do. It's just kind of strange, and Ketroc plays a bit that way himself on the ladder. It's like just creative, different sorts of stuff. So he definitely knows how that can impact human players in the matchup. So
that's definitely my favorite part about Ketroc is that his
just him.
bot is just a him bot.
Yeah.
And it's just like, this is how I like to play, so like I'm gonna make this bot play just like that. Which makes it easy to, get instant feedback on how they're gonna play against humans, how the
and he's one of the first players that was really ever doing that sort of stuff, like frequent planetary fortress in the main base rushes and like exploring those units like the Ravens and stuff like that, and making that the core of the game. He's always played in that sort of creative way. I think he's been streaming for like 14 years, something like that. So definitely check out the real him. I know that he also does like some streams where he'll do the coding and updating for the bot as well. So either way, check him out. And I think we are ready for game number 1 here on Oceanborn. Let's hop into it.
Tartarus. Ketroc.
So Ketroc has called out the strategy of a marine rush here, and Tartarus did open with I think it was actually a 13 pool, but early pool here, early gas. So maybe just straight up a Ling rush, or whether this is geared towards a later switch to a Spire or something. We'll see, but certainly could end up opening up with Lings here. And yeah, marine rush on Ketroc's side, which is not something we see a whole ton of, but looks like he is putting down 1 Rax up front, 1 kind of hidden in the back of the base here to evade a little bit of detection, and then we get a 3rd one coming down here as well. So it looks like he is going heavy marine, which is pretty much going to be good, whether this ends up being a Ling rush or a Muta rush.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, the Marines are going to be just fine.
This is excellent, and it's an in-base 3 racks, so it's not even like proxied or anything. Like, this is probably the best case scenario against any kind of early aggression. One of them.
Indeed, yeah. So this is big. We don't see this out of Ketroc a lot, but I think this is what he was referencing in chat, given that it's playing a new bot that I don't think it has a record for. It will often base its decisions, and a lot of the bots do this, base decisions on history against bots and kind of know them, who they're playing against and what to do. In this case, where he doesn't have it, I guess he's defaulting to an old build. Now, we'll see here, the Lings come up, the wall is done, and already multiple Marines will converge, although some of them are walking back for no apparent reason. But they will regroup and then come up and clean this up. But again, walking back, it almost feels like every time a new Marine is built, they want to re-rally to group up with that Marine. I think that's exactly what's happening.
The Ling's getting a little more damage than it should.
Yeah.
But, I mean, with even more racks going up, I can't imagine this ever snowballs to Tartarus.
Yeah, even just accidentally, like the extra Marine that comes out from the front barracks is just killing them in time. But it is weird that he's grouping up and not finishing these off. We'll see if this group stays up front this time. Nope.
And it's not the cleanest, cleanup, but it is.
It's fine.
It's definitely going to be enough.
Yeah, it's totally fine. There is probably some preordained number that Ketroc has in mind that he's going to move out with these. It feels like we may be at that now. Yeah. 20 army supply. Kind of makes sense. And I think we're going to get a bit of a walking across the map. I kind of thought this might be a longer series just because, not because Ketroc wouldn't dominantly win, but because he tends to be really patient. Like sometimes we'll just macro up to like 4 base and not go until like 150 supply, and just be really careful with how he does it. But the Marine Rush ends up working in the favor of time.
Yeah,
We may have an overall quick night, although next up is BenbotBC, which tends to be longer. And we may not get this in the second game either. So again, with no record, I guess he is switching to this. Just kind of mowing down these lings as they come out, and then as he moves up the ramp, we'll get a quick dismissal of Tartarus. Like, he's done this before too, the in-base second hatch, just for larva. This time he did at least. I guess it's because it's the Ling build. I wish you'd incorporate this maybe into the Mutalist one we'll see next. But getting cleans at all is nice.
Yeah.
One Marine died. Vanguard.
Pretty flawless victory from Ketroc, but yeah, Tartarus, I love cleans. Honestly, if you're gonna get a second base, you might as well get a natural.
Yeah.
Like worst case, you know,
Yeah.
they attack you a little earlier, I guess, if they're on your side. But if they're on your side, like your rush isn't going great anyway.
Yeah, very, very true.
But yeah, some slight things can be done a little better. But this is a very non-Ketroc.
Yeah, very
build.
much.
I did not expect a Marine rush to come out of him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we'll see if he switches into something more normal for him, or whether again it will stick with some of these newer builds. But yeah, I'm not sure what else is going to go different. We may see Tartarus switch builds now to the Muta Rush instead. But again, against this, that's certainly not going to work any better.
Marine rushed.
So
yeah, and even against like against Ravens, like it doesn't feel that good. I guess if they're like flying over dead space where they can't put down a missile turret, and there's some weird, you know, or auto turret. But yeah, we'll see if Tartarus can pull something out of their sleeve. But yeah, Ketroc looking pretty good.
Indeed,
going in this game
and we
too.
will hop in on Gresvin now.
Tartarus. Ketroc.
So they're this time announcing that the strategy will indeed be Raven. And he kind of gives a summary of the record here too. So BC Rush 2-0, so may have some history against them. And then the Marine Rush, which we just saw 1-0, is now enough to make the decision to go into Raven. Tartarus wishing him good luck and have fun. Very polite. Yeah, that's good.
I do like that. It's like the people that say like please to their robots, like when they talk to Alexa.
Exactly.
And they're like, thank you. You know, just keep the politeness, you know?
Yeah.
Robots to robots, people
I find
to robots.
that, I don't know, I use like stuff like ChatGPT a fair bit now. And I find that I'll not only am a little polite to it, but I'll sometimes explain to it why I want something. and you don't really have to.
yeah. Trying to give them
I'm used to doing that, like, you know, at work. Like, hey, like, can you get
this
can you
help
get this
us in the long
information
run
for me? I'll tell you why. It's because we're doing this project next week, and it'd be good to have that before we start. And ChatGPT doesn't need that.
I really don't care, bro. I'll get you the info, but like, save it. save the story.
Exactly. Get the lings coming across while the Logran Command Center is underway. You know, could potentially try and pick off this SCV, but it looks like he's gonna swoop right to the wall, which is already well constructed. And yeah, second group here going after the SCV. If he picks that off, that's at least a little bit annoying.
Yeah, but as soon as these Marines come out, it should be pretty much dealt with. Like, this is just such a rough, honestly, just a race to do it against. Like, Karen is a very anti-cheese race, just with a ranged first unit and the force. And the way Ketroc is opening is just not gonna fall. You know, it's just not gonna falter to this early aggression.
Very much so. You can kind of tell he wants to go down and help the CC though. This may keep him in his base long enough that just has to cancel their die.
Yeah, but it feels like even
it doesn't matter
if that natural gets canceled. Or honestly, even dies. Yeah, it's like Tartarus is gonna expand. They already expanded in their base. Where this is like, where if it's in the natural, then you could trip and fall into a good macro game. You know, like if I don't know. Worst case, you end up there. But as it is, the Lings are gonna keep coming, and they're kind of getting the numbers up.
Yeah, because he's not adding Marines to this at all. It's just the initial 2 here, which are not doing a super aggressive job. Like, they're doing this little dance around, not maximizing fire completely. Although they're doing a better job than last time where they just left completely. But
yeah,
still there. But yeah, he's just going up to the starport.
Yeah, Ketroc almost ignoring it completely and showing that 2 Marines and a little bit of a repair micro is just plenty to deal with. As many Lings as you want to send into that death.
And a Hellion and Banshee coming out. Did he cancel? Yeah. Okay, there's the first Hellion. Again, roasting these guys down. They're microing back here. I find that a lot do this, and I think it's just kind of default behavior, and they're trying to do it in such a way they're not, like, missing a shot, but you can tell, particularly from the Hellion, it probably is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably not shooting a lot of times.
Yeah, they seem to do this even though there's no ranged unit that can hit the back, where you could just stand there. And particularly for the Hellions, where the angle matters, you could just line that sideways and hit all of them the entire time. Again, doesn't matter, but for optimization purposes.
Yeah, when it does matter, you're gonna want it.
And we're now entering that kind of just one shot. The moment that these Lings poke their head up, they're going to be taken down.
Yeah, and eventually Ketroc will get a big enough ball. I don't know when they're actually gonna move across, because the plan was Ravens, and we haven't seen a Raven yet.
He also still wants to. You can see the hologram appearing. He still wants to go down and put the CC. Yeah.
Oh, the CC.
So you're gonna have to get a long enough gap for that to happen. Yeah.
I'm playing my macro game. I don't care what you say. It's like when the AI asks you if you wanna, if you'll accept their surrender. It's like, may I GG and leave? No. I'm maxing out.
There it goes. It really wants to go down there. That almost works in his face, like grouping them up a tiny bit or something may help him push out, but there's a pretty staggered good timing between these.
Yeah, if like maybe enough SCVs came down trying to build. Did Tartarus?
Did it GG? What happened there? Yeah, we're now we're out.
I don't know. It was
Ketroc
a victory
crash or something,
and
we're gonna need a explanation. No,
reckon because definitely Ketroc wasn't the lead the whole time, but I thought I saw a Zerg winning.
Did he just crash out? And we see the score updated with 1-1. I'm watching on stream now again, which is delayed. Let's see if I can figure out what has happened. Yeah, so it does appear that Ketroc quit the game. So magic. It was, yeah. Do we have an explanation for maybe the type of crash or anything that occurred here? Okay. Ketroc in chat.
Short answer,
any
no.
explanation for what may have happened? Yeah, that would be some speculation that it could never get down there, and did that just kind of bug it out, or it hit a situation that it's never actually encountered. But I mean, this doesn't seem that crazy of a thing that you wouldn't.
And it wasn't that long of a game, too. You know, like it wasn't like a 30-minute.
Yeah,
you haven't had your natural, so
such
it's
a thing happen that whatever. But I'm trying to look again to see if there's
3.
like, is there a very specific trigger, a thing it was trying to do at that exact moment that, yeah, but there kind of wasn't. So yeah, so I guess we are hopping into match 3. Yeah.
I mean, I think Ketroc looks pretty good going into it.
Yeah.
Basically,
and what will it now conclude? Given that it keeps track of its wins and losses, it's going to think,
oh,
well,
yeah,
my
now that it's
macro
lost
Raven
the,
game
I mean,
lost. Yeah.
But that's fine. Go back to the Marine Rush that won even better. I feel like all the builds of, because like if a build was going to lose, it'd probably be the Raven Rush or the BC, you know, like it's like a tech rush. And so the fact that that one doesn't lose, it's like, well, and if it takes it as a loss and then only chooses actual better builds, I can't imagine this game 3 going too well for Tartarus.
Yeah, Ketroc
we'll see if
making
Ketroc
the
quits out again.
statement here. If a game connection fails, the Java bot always ends up taking the loss. So is there something? So maybe just if the game itself failed, then there's a potential problem where his bot that by default loses. I think we've had a similar thing in the past where we ended up having to replay a Ketroc series because we thought there was an error with him, but it turns out there wasn't. And then it ended up replaying. Yeah, so we'll see what he does. Well, we'll see what happens in game number 3 here anyway. May do the same thing, may do a different thing, different map, different result. Who knows? But we'll find out in potentially a few seconds, and then we'll see. Yeah.
Very short.
Then we'll see if Ketroc plays the game out or what goes on. And Tartarus may end up switching builds too. Let's find out. Game number 3.
Game number 3.
Maybe not. Did all of Java break? Can we not load it? Oh, there's a new timer. Don't worry, I voted for Tartarus. Very good. I'm not supposed to reference any such thing. I don't know what voting is. Draken said. Oh, I don't know what that means. Yeah, I think we're...
Tartarus. Ketroc.
So we got the call out of the Banshee, which is kind of what he did last time anyway, even though he said Raven. He ended up building Banshees as he was being attacked.
Yeah, so if it looks like last game, Ketroc heavy favored right now. But we'll see if some shenanery goes on and Ardish is able to get in, or something goes wrong. But yeah, I feel like this is gonna look pretty similar to the last game, with just like Starport kind of being the tech choice and kind of the route that Ketroc's going up. I guess we don't see the equilibrium was where Ketroc
he had a bug
last season. I think
you're right. Yeah, he had a bug last season. Presumably that's fixed now because it wasn't a problem after that. But he had in one of the spawn spots. Well, the issue was, I think that he was using top bottom to distinguish in most games, since these are both at the top. It was trying to build the natural in the same place. Like it basically was trying to build buildings in its opponent's base, like on the wrong side of the map. Yeah. Regardless of which one it spawned on. So one of the spawns was fine, the other...
Okay, this is just... Yeah. This is just a command center first. So never mind. Everything looks right now. I just did not expect a CC first, which I guess this build is not the same as last game, and so these lings have a lot more potential. There's still a wall off. It's still pretty rough to ling rush against Terran, but definitely the best shot.
If he
Tartarus
finishes
has.
the CC, that's going to be the big thing. So if these go up, it was the second round of lings that went for the SCV. If they don't do that, and he finishes this, now there's probably going to be a planetary in the low ground. That changes the equation and how everything moves a lot. There's the second round of lings. They did not go down to pick off that SCV, so that will finish. And no, it's going to an orbital.
CC or orbital.
And there's our first Marine.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's
One
fine.
Marine,
With-
pretty much.
With
Like,
repair, you
is
just
it?
have an infinite amount of time to deal with this. Even as the numbers accumulate here, it won't make much of a difference. And yeah, he's just gonna. Yeah,
and now Ketroc's just straight up mining.
he's gonna.
on the low ground
PF is underway, but is that a PF? Okay. It's,
Oh,
yeah, cancel and switch.
it canceled. Yeah.
Yeah. See if that has any effect as things come in. But yeah, 3 Marines out, kind of mowing things down here.
And yeah, already looking like as long as nothing crashes or breaks or anything, Ketroc just so far ahead. And Tartarus taking the natural in their, or not in a natural, taking their macro hatch instead of a natural. So no macro game is coming from that side.
Definitely. Yeah, so the third won't get up for the time being. He's adding on to the starport here now. More Marines coming.
Gonna try to get to those banshees eventually.
Yeah, he keeps.
And really wants
yeah,
that
he keeps
third
trying to
base.
move out here, which is interesting too. These Marines caught on the wrong side of the wall do get cleaned up. Yeah,
A
he's
little,
still fine.
careless.
Like he's got so much time to respond to the lings going after the wall. But yeah,
And like there's
Yeah.
a natural. Like the lings like could obviously destroy it, but like they're not. And so Ketroc's literally on 2 base defending as if they're on 1 base, which is just like the best of all worlds, where you get to use this small ramp and this choke while also having
we get
2
a
base economy.
second starport coming here too, and not actually even a second Marine. Yeah.
And the 3rd command center.
Yeah,
He's got big
definitely
plans.
does. He's starting to get some. I mean, he's at least draining a few minerals by doing this constant attack, and with just 1 Marine, this number's definitely accumulated. Are any of these going to get pulled? I was waiting for
There
that.
you go. Yeah.
Like, are you going to get pulled down there and the
If
PF?
the PF
comes in?
shoots and then
Yeah,
but they're just right out of range most of the time.
yeah.
Man, that Marine could use a buddy.
Good indeed. He's soon going to get 2 Banshees as a buddy, if not more. You can see this is kind of mass Banshee getting the cloak there as well. They could just completely ignore this too and go across the map, but Banshee will come to help.
Yeah, I almost expected that. Just Banshees just feel such like a almost like the
Just
Oracle.
just on the way though here. So I think
Okay.
so he's done this where he kind of goes bottom of the map to like scoot around.
Kind of avoid
even though
overlords or-
yeah, I think so because this is the normal close by air, but instead he's taking the other route. There, lings come down again. Each time they do this, it kind of thins out the numbers a lot.
Yeah, the pool gets like a little bit overcrowded, and then like
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
close enough, and then it
they
pulls
attack.
half of it. And yeah,
It's that mule thing. So each time the mule expires, it wanders away from the pack so that it doesn't die with minerals, and then that seems to trigger it.
oh, and then they go for the mule, and then
Yeah.
that get hit by that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Almost like one of those bamboo sticks that like get filled with water, and they dump out when they get a little too full.
Yes, exactly like that.
Just deadlings.
There's a lot of that
Into it.
sort of
Yeah.
mechanic. Yeah, there's a lot of that sort of mechanic in these bot games. See that SCV little, they want to transfer down too, but they can't. And Banshee will swing into the main. There's not going to be anything there that can deal with this.
Fourth base coming up.
Yeah.
Or fifth base? Yeah, something silly.
Yeah, he also makes a lot of the, even in the late game, will just make extra CCs for mules and things like that, and just align the map with planetaries. But Banshee in here, cloaked, now going after the workers.
Another cute, worker-specific harass, which I think is just so cool. Especially because it got a couple hits off before going over, so you can tell it has like multiple phases of kind of goals or how it functions.
Very true. Viking here and Raven supervising while a Banshee does pick some of these off. The worker count on the other side down to only 3 with the cloak. Cloak is still going on that, second one too. Raven just kind of being annoying. And with pretty much all the workers dead, I think he'll start going after the queens. Last guy's transferring. Still replacing them. Now all the larva has gone into that, so there's no more lings coming across either. And he is out of minerals, essentially. And now we get the cleanup. So Ketroc, unless he just quits in the last 3 seconds, Ketroc does win that.
Thank God.
So
right,
good recovery there. We'll try and look into what that crash actually was in the end. I guess doesn't matter as he will advance 2-1 anyway. But yeah, different. I mean, not fundamentally different game in terms of kind of what happened, but different build from Ketroc's side. Finally going on the aggressive side of things, and there's no response for that on Tartarus' side, so he will be eliminated. But I hope to see him in the future. Again, I think there's a lot of things we didn't get to see the Muta build, which I wanted to kind of talk through where some of the optimization was, but I think if he slips in some queens, times out the gas better, things like that, you can hit more of a punch when those mutas finally do come out. So
yeah, which I think that with anything, when you like first start doing it, or it's even more amplified, like we were talking about earlier with like getting to be the attacker. But it's so easy to be able to optimize so many different parts, especially if you're a robot. Even a human build you can kind of optimize, but bots is like to the nth degree that like, all right, you work on like this 2-unit interaction, but you like make it a lot cleaner. Like that pushes your bot so much further in a ton of different games, because it's just such a cascading and domino effect that any small fix can just like go a really long way. So yeah, would love to see. And Tartarus did get some hard opponents, like getting Ketroc
sure.
in the loser's side, like
that's
a
unfortunate.
pretty brutal draw. And so couple changes, and also like maybe getting a little luckier with getting a ZVP or a ZVZ where you have a little bit easier time doing rushes and stuff. Could definitely see some better results, but for now gets I don't know if we want to call it a 2-1, 2-0. A weird one.
2-1 asterisk.
Ketroc takes it.
Yeah.
Which will bring us to our last match of the night. Match 4. Finally some long games probably. With Benjamin.
Possibly.
Robot Battlecruiser.
Indeed. That's his full name. It's his Christian name.
Yeah, that's...
it's from the Battlecruiser clan. Up against DomionDog will be, I expect for sure this to be our long ones, but let's see what happens here. Specifically here, DomionDog calling out at the end of his strategy here that there is no more cheese for now. But it only uses one build. Starts with the Depot Scout and then reacts, which I think is kind of like, I guess that's only one build, but if you're reacting and adjusting, then that isn't really only one build. It's just a reactive build.
Yeah, it's the same starting point and the same, like 2 minutes in or something.
Yeah, basically. So it will kind of improvise from there. Then on the weakness side, it's been a while since DomionDog was in the tournament, so see if he keeps up. What's up? What's up, Paul? How's it going? Weakness here. New strategy is new and untested. That is the definition of a new strategy. But I think we'll get to see. I think here, unless BenBot is uncharacteristically aggressive, we'll get to see what's going on. You know, who knows? When reacting to in-game events, this bot will change strategy and forward parameters from previously executed builds. So again, yeah, a bit adaptive. And the specific behavior of the build varies from game to game. I remember DomionDog being like pretty well-rounded in terms of what it does. And for a Terran in particular, that's usually kind of the default position too. There's nothing like super extreme in a lot of the builds. BenBot, on the other hand, tends to have the strategy of building a lot of battle cruisers, uses bunkers to defend and also attack. And we saw an adaptation to that in the first week. Usually it does kind of a soft bunker contain, but we saw that be more aggressive in week number 1, but unfortunately it didn't really work out for him. Weaknesses of Mass Thors and Tempests. I don't expect either of these things out of DomionDog. Obviously not the Tempests, but the Thors in particular, I don't think so. And yeah, saves game results, uses the info to decide the build order, and can also select some builds specific to the opponents. I know there's definitely some where BenBot rules out the bunker rush or proxy at all, and instead goes, directly defensive. But we'll see what he picks up on here and what's kind of changed over the off season. So yeah, this bot's 5 years old, approaching 5 years, just after Christmas. Basically, it's BenbotBC eventually becomes BenbotAD.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah. Something like that. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I think BenBot's kind of the driver, I feel, in this. I don't think that DomionDog's going to come out being ultra aggressive or anything. It sounds like it's kind of building generic, versatile, and then we'll kind of decide from there. BenBot tends to be patient if it doesn't do the proxy and bunker. My tendency is to think that he's gonna do that, but we'll see. We shall see.
Yeah, I feel like if BenBot isn't aggressive early on, then like DomionDog might have some sort of 2 base, 3 base, like normal-ish push out, and just because BenBot, once they're cocooned up, they are fully cocooned. The kind of pacing might go on DomionDog of like kind of being the aggressor. But yeah, early game I think it's going to be dependent on what BenBot's doing, and it's probably going to be coming from BenBot's side, at least really early on.
Very true. So let's hop here into game number 1. Hang on to your hats, Fel.
BenbotBC. DomionDog.
Speaking of cool hats, that dog definitely rocking it. The scout for DomionDog here on the other side. It doesn't look like BenBot is going for any sort of proxy shenanigans, and he's got is that just a depot at the natural? Yeah, so just going for
Early wall.
double depot wall there with a bunker in. They help out.
Kind of sick.
Oh.
Kind of sick plays.
Definitely the trap, the early trap, taking him out. Yeah, BenBot usually doesn't do this either, like the full wall. He kind of just does like, here's a bunker, double bunkers up, throws some widow mines on. But I think if you've got a small ramp like this, maybe it does make sense to try and take advantage, do that, be a little bit more defensive.
Yeah, a wall, bunker, and like tank, and going up that little ramp is just so brutal.
Yeah, this is a little odd, as the observer is pointing out. He was banking up some minerals, and he's got 2 racks, but nothing building out of them. Looks like the bank up was for this CC, but he's still not making any units out of the racks, which is kind of then like, well, then why make the racks first?
Yeah, the order of things does matter.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's similar to like if you build your gases really early and then like you're not actually putting workers in them. It's like, well,
Why?
save those 75 minerals, build another worker.
Yeah.
There are better ways to kind of get your money to work for you. So yeah, still no units. I was expecting, because sometimes in TVT you get a lot of those early game like Reaper, Hellion, kind of scrappy units. So I was expecting DomionDog to kind of come out with some aggression. But yeah, the 2 racks have built no units, just now adding add-ons, but they were done like a minute and a half ago.
Yeah, a while back. He's going to a 3rd base pretty quickly, so he's trying to cheat on the economic side here, which isn't always a bad idea with BenBot. If BenBot is holding off to get up to the BCs, then you can kind of get away with some economic style cheese here. And maybe he can get a bit of an advantage on that end. But at the expense of, if you don't attack BenBot early, then you can build your economy, and he's building like 4 BCs. So
Yeah,
as long as you can deal with that at the appropriate time.
it kind of feels like the barracks, where if you're gonna lean into an economy, you do have to like use that economy to like get something out at a certain point. You can't just build economy, because then like BCs will just destroy every mineral line you have. But if these 3 bases, once they're all mining, and once you get that influx of actual income, if you can have 7 racks and some factories pumping, then maybe you can hit a really strong timing. I just hope the infrastructure lines up with the economy, which right now, just like the lack of infrastructure is a little bit worrying. That like it's not gonna line up.
When you want to kick into that higher mode, he's not going to have the ability to yet. He is adding on the armory. Okay, door. So this is the one thing I think I said pre-game I didn't think that DomionDog was going to get into, and that is what he's getting up to. It's still only 1 factory. So
and I thought maybe like super late game he would, but this is like the first factory unit is a Thor.
Yeah. Kind of the Thor rush, but then with only 1 factory supporting. So, I mean, this could definitely help. But you do have to kind of hit a decent number of them before they become super threatening.
Double Stargate as well, which I feel like Viking Thor, because of like the vision the Vikings give, can be a really strong counter to BC. Yeah,
it definitely can work out. I think they can also just be a really quick BC killer too. So a lot of the BCs rely on the teleport away. So if they don't have the ability to do that jump, just because it takes a long time, and or hitting you with that heavy weapon, definitely can take you out pretty quickly, particularly if you get a few of them going. So we'll see. Given that BenBot is sitting back, he's going up to a 3rd base, just getting that fusion core now. There may be a lot of time for DomionDog's economy to kick in and start building an impressive army. Both of them pretty similar in army supply here. But when DomionDog does kick into BC building, it is often multiple at once. We're still just getting 1 Thor on the DomionDog side.
Yeah, another factory is coming down, and that 3 base economy was started a while ago. Observer pointing out that we are going to get pretty badly supply blocked here for a second.
Yeah.
But the fact that DomionDog is going into Thors honestly does make kind of what my issue with their build kind of alleviates it, because Thors are so expensive. You kind of get in front of the problem of not having the infrastructure to actually spend your money. If you're pumping out Thors, like 1 or 2 armories will almost be enough for a 3 base economy to kind of get poured into, as long as you're also getting upgrades and using your other facilities. So I actually really like the way that DomionDog is kind of building up. and the fact that they're sometimes you kind of build a maxed out army and then you work backwards and try to fill in what you want, and it feels like DomionDog's kind of trying to do it. The maxed out army is what army he wants at the end. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
don't build a ton of Marines, then have to throw them away to make space for your Thors. Which, I mean, BenbotBC kind of does the same thing. They're both going to be a lot slower of an army buildup, but their army's going to be a lot more valuable than someone who's just pumping out Marine Marauder, Medevac, you know, just trying to get numbers out, basically.
Yeah, very true. Still expanding here up to a 4th base DomionDog. And it looks like he's initiating this move out now with some Banshee and Viking support along with the Raven. And he's got a pretty decent army supply lead here. Yeah, I don't know what BenbotBC has to confront this. He will have tanks at the front line, which are nice. Widowmines often at the front line.
There's at least one BC and some Vikings, but definitely not enough to fight this. Even getting that Yamato off is going to actually destroy the battlecruiser.
Yeah, it just takes too long against that sort of weaponry. Here, I always love the Marines out. The bunker itself is actually empty, but pretty big shredding there of all the Marines. Tanks in the back, double tanks, even against Thors, which are pretty durable, is going to take them down pretty quick.
Yeah, we said at the beginning of the game, I mean, we talked about the natural opening almost every single set at least, but that is the importance of it, is going up ramp into 2 tanks, just like, it does so much damage when there's a wall and there's a bunker. Like you said, the bunkers didn't even have units in them. It's just the keeping the tanks safe for a little bit longer makes just such a huge difference. So all the Thors get cleaned up.
Yeah, doesn't even take out that gas. The PF behind that too, even though it didn't come into play, is a nice addition. If he does end up with Thors or Marines in particular up there, they're just going to get shredded until they hit really good numbers. And BC will jump away. I think the BCs are going to have to potentially adapt on how to play into this. But the key now is going to be keeping the Thor number low while you try and climb up with your BC number. But there are double Thor pumping out. There's triple Viking pumping out.
Yeah, I think if BenbotBC keeps the tank production up, I think they're going to be pretty safe. I think right now they're not building tanks, and if the tanks do get jumped on, it can turn south really fast.
Yeah.
But even that 3rd location, because the angle DomionDog is attacking up into the natural, you get the ramp into the natural and the ramp into the 3rd. So you get like 2 places where tanks are firing onto low ground, just because that's the way, you know, if DomionDog could go on the high ground earlier, which it looks like this army might be going on the high ground first and not going into that kind of double angled low ground.
that will work out. The PF here though is going to shred these Marines to pieces. He's also switched on BenbotBC's side to a lot of Viking. So if he can clean out this Viking count as well, I think that's going to help him get on top of the Thors more easily. Also get rid of these Banshees that are trying to put in a little bit of work.
Yeah, the Banshees I feel like are just taking too much away from the Viking number.
Yeah.
They're not being valuable enough that it makes sense. Because you're going to go into a Viking v Viking, like, not always in Terran v Terran, but quite often a lot. You know, like, it happens quite often. Yeah, I feel like the Banshee number, there needs to be something to calculate what needs to be built from the start port. Because even the first push out was like 1 Raven, 2 Banshee, 2 Viking, which just does not seem like the correct group of units.
Indeed. Now he is in threat of losing this base now. No repairs there as all the SCVs were killed. So taking control of that position, definitely good, shutting down that base. However, there are 2 other outlying bases that are going to be operational, and now he's kind of forced to go up this natural ramp.
Death ramp, yeah.
Yeah. Which he does get one of the bunkers there in front. There's Widowmines backing it up. And the Thor kind of, 3 of them just kind of stuck at the bottom in no man's land, weren't quite sure which way to go. Basically, there were targets kind of on multiple sides, so they just didn't move.
Yeah, they keep turning, and they're probably getting in and out of vision with the Vikings kind of going in and out, so they see the tanks and then they don't.
Yeah.
It's
On the
just a
flip
brutal
side,
spot.
it may just be an attrition thing here, though. The worker count on BenbotB's side quite low. The army count is quite low because he switched so much to things like Viking and other production. He's not getting to a BC count. That is, I mean, I don't know if he even still has the 1 or that's it, but we're not getting a bigger number, and the air is starting to fill up for DomionDog here.
I think also BenbotB's constantly fighting, which I think you don't have to do if DomionDog's not pushing the issue.
Yeah.
Because like if you do have a lower Viking count, like you kind of just need the numbers to be able to one-shot so that you can start jumping in, jumping out, and kind of, you know, getting your licks in. But if you're streaming them in, you know, a couple at a time, it just feels like that. You'll never be able to turn the tides. These two tanks are freaking heroes.
Yeah, just absolute giants in this game. The Widowmine backups have come into play a couple times too when like a group of Marines get too close, just wipe them out. The Yamato that keeps coming in has, I think, never been worth it. He's lost so much health on the BC. He's always lost more resources than he actually killed off there. Again, they keep regrouping back when they lose that kind of front-running Thor.
Hopefully they run into a random base on accident.
Yeah. We'll find this one as they come this way. Again, with repair, this is working out okay, and there's only one Banshee here. That's what really took out the SCVs last time. But with the second Thor coming in, he's going to have a hard time finishing this off.
Yeah, and if DomionDog can just clean up the outside bases. I mean, you mentioned it, because even with these bases, the worker difference is 30, and it's still kind of a stranglehold and a war of attrition, but if you can clean up the outside bases, then the war of attrition is much, much shorter. It's just really DomionDog getting the scouting information, or getting the means to actually break this ramp, but...
Yeah, it feels inevitable, although like some of these side bases get rebuilt, but you just don't see BenbotB making any forward progress, even though he keeps like staying alive. What's really you just saw a good example of it there. This Viking count is insane now.
Yeah,
it's like nothing has checked that number in a long time. So yeah, now with that support, even taking the turret out here, although it's going to be rebuilt, and eating, I think, Widowmine shot there. You can see everything in purple. Yeah, that'll be it. So yeah, I think just the Thors provide such stability to an army, and that's kind of what you expect the BC to do as well. But it's just something you can base everything around that is durable enough to just group everything with and rely on. And I think he really committed to that. When he lost the Thor, he would back up till he got the next one and then come in. And even though the Thors had some trouble in positions like this at the bottom, there's that Widowmine blast that just kept them alive. But yeah, even though the Thors have trouble moving up, they're just such a durable force that it distracts from your ability to deal with the rest of it and then takes it out. And then the Marines continuing to come in, particularly against the PFs, while I'm sure this wasn't like the deliberate plan, when they would come in, the PFs would divert their fire to the Marines that were closer, while the Thors just lived longer and longer and shelled in the back, and eventually just taking them out.
I think another big thing with Thors is the fact that it's a anti-air that doesn't get attacked by Vikings.
Yeah.
And so often you get into these Vikings v Vikings, or Vikings and Ravens versus Vikings and BCs, and there's just always so many Vikings in the air and so much like importance on air control that Thors not being like tiny Marines that'll just get blown up by tanks as soon as they walk too close. You know, like the range and the bulkiness of the Thor and being a ground unit really just in TVT and in those kind of air battles and securing the airspace, they do really, really well.
Yeah. Very true, very true. And we'll see if we get any difference here in build orders or just setups in game number 2. Hopping in now.
DomionDog. BenbotBC.
All right, Benbot possibly with a little bit of aggression here. Maybe an early scout, but definitely is timing out to be a nice barracks. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
It's away with it.
yeah. This is that much more aggressive one. He usually does not build this in like the enemy natural.
Natural, yeah.
But so this is much more aggressive than he's been in the past. He usually builds this like halfway across the map, just kind of passively goes up, puts a bunker outside. But see if this does a better job. If he can hold off DomionDog from taking that massive economic lead early, then this could definitely work out quite different for him. But the first time we saw him do this, it did get shut down pretty hard. But I don't know. In a TVT, and he didn't seem to see it yet, it may get up.
Yeah, well, especially if DomionDog saves 400 minerals. Okay, first Reaper's already out. Parent early Reaper Hellion. Okay. So luckily it's already been changed, but if that was the same build of build 2 racks and then wait 400 minerals, that could have been like by far the worst case scenario. If this Marine could wait before that Reaper goes, that'd be so sweet, but it's not. Which means it's gonna be Marine versus Reaper very early on. The Reaper should be able to clean it up very fast. The bunker and the incoming Marines can make a big difference, but Reapers are kind of they're like stalkers where like before stim and in small numbers, they're just so good at the scrap game that this is kind of what I wanted from the 2 racks last game too, is like Terran v Terran loved the scrap meta of like Hellion, Reaper, and just get all this like extra bonus to light unit damage in.
He's lucky there that the Reaper retreated when it did, because it didn't have to. One more shot and it would have killed the Marine and then been able to take out the SCV building the bunker in the first place. This is kind of weird. Like, despite having that bunker where it is, it's not like forward. He's still kind of attacking up the ramp.
Yeah, they're not in there.
So yeah, he's not using
natural.
this yet.
But you're losing all the Marines that are going to go into it.
That's it. It does if you staff it, basically. And I kind of feel at this point the Marines coming up the ramp shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Like this should be over now. And we're now into contain mode because it's done a tiny bit of damage and it should move on.
Well, and you need to deal with what's home.
Yeah,
So like you
it.
can't keep putting
Yeah,
money
they're just
into
going
it,
across.
because
Yeah.
this Reaper is gonna be hell.
Indeed. So this may be quick too. I think this is what we saw in the first week too. That it started to failed, but then he just committed to it, and it feels like there's no off switch on this.
Yeah.
Like it didn't work. I mean, it would work if you just retreated to the bunker. Even now, I mean, he's lost a lot of workers now, but it would work. Like you're still containing them.
Yeah.
On that
Now
one base.
it's weird. 30 seconds ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it's whatever, but particularly, I mean, the optimal time to do that was after losing the second Marine, the bunker's up, and the 2 more Marines came across the map. That's the time. Now with the tank, this bunker's empty in the first place.
And getting repaired. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if you know they don't have a natural and you have a bunker to deny their natural,
Yeah.
if you can expand, you are strictly ahead at the very least economically. You know, like it's a very, I don't know, clear state of like, if they don't have this and I do, that is an advantage that now I can play defense. Now I can be the ball's in their court to do something, because I'm going to have the runaway BC craziness in 25 minutes if they don't stop me. But yeah, just knowing how to walk that line and when to jump from aggression to defensive to eco to, you know, the appropriate side. But yeah, now that DomionDog's coming across with a tank and some Marines, it's looking
Tank Marines.
looking like a quick 2-0.
Liberator's going to join him soon.
BenbotBC getting out this early seems kind of crazy.
It is, and it's a lot of it's. I wanted to see kind of more of a run back of the first game, to see different map, like slightly different situation. What would that look like? But here, seeing like this strange overcommittal to this bunker rush that doesn't make really a lot of sense.
Well, and you want to see Benbot style, you know, like classic Ben. It's like if Ketroc lost and didn't go Ravens, you'd be like, well, that was like, it didn't feel like Ketroc, like, like don't try too much new stuff, you know. Because like you said, this is kind of the newer Benbot, because Benbot always has had like some slight contains and stuff, but this new super aggressive Benbot, aggression just has to be really careful these days because bots are so much better at defending and playing into it. The full it's the same problem we had with Tartarus of like not building your natural in your natural spot and like having the ability to maybe macro out of it just like really, you know, holds you down, holds you back.
Yeah, tanks did the slowly prog up, but Liberator in perfect position. Tanks holding down the fort, and he's broken through here, obviously. Yeah, pretty one-sided in the end, but very slow and methodical on DomionDog's side.
Yeah, and I love the. I feel like Liberators are one of those units that setting them up can be very tricky.
Yeah.
And this Liberator looks like. Every time it's set up, I've been like, that's kind of where I want
it's the right spot.
I want the ship there, and I want it angled that way, and that looks correct.
Yeah, the angle, like, you mentioned the angle, and I think that's the hardest part. It's not just where you put the circle. It's where's the Liberator in relation to the circle.
Yeah, because it can be straight under the Liberator, it can be max range, the Liberator can be on their side, and then it's like, well, that's horribly awful.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like above the tanks and the Marines were in between the like, it's just like, the positioning of DomionDog, especially because what I was talking about earlier with the killer instinct, which obviously this isn't like it's not like a one decision of like, oh, I need to go in now, but the way that they're going about ending the game is very clean, which can be
just pulling back
a little bit of a caster curse there.
Okay. All right. Single tap.
That can be the spot, especially bots can just fumble, where it's like the game is won, but they're not doing the one thing that they need to do. And now the other bot, is slowly building back and they're trickling Marines into a PF or something, and you just slowly lose the game. Yeah, I guess.
All right, here we go. Yeah, I think he probably had like some overriding command of like, when I go to build my third, come defend it.
Oh, yeah.
And something like that, but yeah. So there we go. That one still relatively quicker than I would have expected out of these two bots. I think overall a pretty quick night. Didn't have anything go super macro or anything here.
Yeah.
I get a little bit the last one, but it was, not really, not in the traditional sense.
Yeah, first game of the last set, like a little bit.
Yeah.
Welcome to upset bots. Because that's where we are at with all these, like, DomionDog taking out BenbotBC. My goodness.
Huge.
Yeah.
I definitely hit that YouTube poll wrong. I did not see that. I mean,
people were close. Yeah, I mean, that was the prediction. Slim majority, but majority nonetheless. Yeah, DomionDog did win the popular vote. But remember, he also, both Benbot and DomionDog have been like semi-finalists before. So DomionDog just hasn't been here for a few seasons, but certainly when he was here, performed very well. So not that huge of a surprise, even though it's kind of his return.
Yeah, don't call it an upset.
I mean, DomionDog has been out of the game for quite some time, and yes, he's a top. You can't sleep on him. You can't sleep on DomionDog.
Yeah,
he's been out, and then he came back, big debut, out here in the losers bracket, and taking out BenbotBC, which, well, I'm a little bit surprised, but what's not a surprise is what we got going on for the next matches. Do we have well, we won't have the next bracket, but we'll see. Let's see what we have for this bracket and where we're at. Oh.
So over here.
yeah.
This is like...
So I mean, we're gonna have the winners matches next. So yeah, we don't know who these guys are gonna play. They're ultimately gonna play the winner of the losers.
Yeah,
so
the
we're gonna
loser
have
of the winners.
Yeah, the loser of the winners. Sorry, we'll play the winner of the losers. So County Nana and Zozo will square up, and then the loser of that will play Ketroc, with the winner advancing onto our bracket phase. And T-Bone and Tier T, the loser of that will end up playing DomionDog.
Oh, I feel like
we won't have a bracket as well, but it will be RD versus SharkBot and Xena versus Micro Machine.
Mhm.
So that's the matches for next week. Keeping in mind that this week is an update week, so bots will be
yes.
updated.
Indeed. Yeah. So, and fix some bugs that we've seen. Any bug that's been completely fatal to a bot, too late for them. They're already out. But the rest of them, 3/4 of them, have survived so far, and we'll be able to shore things up a little bit.
And I'm sure Ketroc will have an opportunity to double check to make sure there's no
whatever that issue was. Shall see. But I think those will be some good ones. The winners ones, there's a couple bots up there that were kind of upsets in the first week or the first round that we'll see if they can continue that on.
keep it up. Yeah.
I mean, we got Artie, we have Artie, and we have Xena Micro Machine is not unusual. Kanina Zozo, T-Bone. I think he's a dark horse. He's an I'm interested to see T-Bone and where he goes with, in the next week. He's got some interesting toys in his chest. So
it'll also be interesting if Tier beats T-Bone, then T-Bone will play. Who is his side?
DomionDog, I think.
Yeah, DomionDog, and that we already did a 2-1 winner side, so that could be like a. We do like grand finals. It's a reset. It's like game 10, and it's like, we've been playing all day. A game 6 would be pretty cool if they got another set against each other.
Some really good matches lining up, and not to say that we didn't have good matches coming here, but it goes from here on out. We got some, especially in the next round, as we go higher in the brackets. These matches, we're going to see some more 2-1s. We're going to hopefully see some closer games, longer games.
Oops, all bangers is what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's all up from here.
Only all from here. So, first round, we're now past the first round of eliminations, and then we're gonna go for the winners brackets, and then back in to the losers for bots to fight for their lives or artificial lives, whatever that might be. So, absolutely. What was the biggest surprise for you guys this match or this game, this episode?
Okay.
I think kind of just this, and I even commented before the game that if DomionDog has one build, I did not expect it to be Thor's. So that was probably surprising that he just kind of stumbled into directly like a hard counter.
Well, and how quickly I guess the adaptation comes in as well, because the 2 racks was the same, but then very quickly it became a whole nother build, which ended up being able to counter BenbotBC very well with the aggressive strategy that BenBot chose. So yeah, the fact that it is the same starting point, and we got 2 completely different games where both DomionDog looked very comfortable. That's pretty crazy. It's pretty sweet.
Makes you wonder why he's in the losers bracket in the first place.
I know. I forget how him and T-Bone, because it was a 2-1, so it's not like he was.
Yeah.
A lot of the winner sides are 2-0s, so I mean that alone.
Yeah.
Should mean something, but yeah, we'll see if DomionDog can make all the way back up to quarterfinals.
Who do you think who's gonna be the one to get out of this this pit of hell? Likeliest, I guess.
Ketroc.
Yeah. Okay.
Ketroc's looking pretty good. I'll put it on DomionDog. I really like, because again the ending, the way I didn't love the army comp of the game 1 when they were moving across with the weird starport kind of choices, but Liberator, Tank, Marine, and set up in a good contain kill move just looks so strong, and I love that is kind of what DomionDog kind of goes for, and so yeah, I'll go DomionDog.
You'll do it?
Yeah.
All right. For those of you at home, you make sure you take your choices. Join here in the chat. You raise those votes, and you let me know which bot you think. We don't have a poll for it, but I'll probably do a YouTube poll during the week and see what you guys think. Who do you think is going to make it out of the lower brackets? And absolutely. And as always, we're coming to the end of the show, so that means I got to remind you, like, subscribe, do all those algorithmic stuff. You know, we're enslaved here to the power of the algorithms, of all the algorithms. So help this episode, the show out and the channel out by doing those algorithmic things. And then, of course, go to the template, make yourself a bot. I understood you should make a bot. I don't know why. The template's so easy. It's like,
you gotta have so much freaking knowledge in that brain, dude. You've been watching bots for so long.
Yeah.
Every scenario.
It is easier. And like, as I've seen you kind of use kind of like Copilot type stuff, it does make it more approachable too. I think, I've sat down to kind of do it before and just kind of didn't.
It feels like kind of like playing like StarCraft, where starting it seems very
starting
overwhelming.
is harder. Like
doing it seems fun, but
particularly for like almost anything. The real barrier, to be honest, is like it feels like setting up the initial stuff, like the Python, the libraries, the this, the that. Is actually, I've always felt this in learning anything like that, is setting up the environment is like step 50 of learning the language. like it feels way harder, and there's always something wrong. Like I've done it before, like some of the guys in the Discord for it, like I've asked, like, you know, okay, I can't get this library to load, what do I do? I'm getting this area, what do I do? Like that troubleshooting of setting it up the first day just kind of stopped me.
Absolutely. And I wish I could articulate the amount of frustration I had when I was when I first started this, because it wasn't very well done. Like there's not very much documentation getting this stuff done. So that was one of my biggest missions, was trying to make this easier with this guide. That was it, because I had to like back, it was before even the AI stuff, like before I had Copilot, whatever, I had to deconstruct backwards like all the stuff that we're missing. And I don't want to scare anybody starting, because now there's Copilot, there's ChatGPT. I mean, now if you run into one of those problems in the area, you just copy paste it, and then usually tells you how to fix it right away. But I kind of stumbled through it myself, and highly recommend it though. Now easier than ever. The guides in the chat and in the description. You could be up and running in 15 minutes, assuming you don't have any errors. But even then, ChatGPT, Copilot, super easy to walk it through.
And so, like the Discord, and you know, ask a friend. You know,
people will help.
Very cool people. Ketroc's in the chat all the time. He loves talking about this stuff.
I mean, it knows as well. You show up on Monday, the stream. I actually get a lot of questions, and I love to answer the questions about bot making. I'm only Python though, so and I imagine if you're starting, you will be too. So, easiest language to get this started with.
Do it in COBOL.
COBOL. No, just straight up no. I'm not subscribing to.
I'm just saying, if you do it in COBOL, it will be backwards compatible to the 1940s.
No.
So when you time travel and win the ProBots season -327, 1980.
It's important.
All right, and then the last thing, of course, once you got that bot up and running, you can go to aiarena.net, throw it on the ladder, and then you can compete with these other bots. Absolutely. There's a different division, so don't feel that you have to be going up against Eris right away. You can climb your way up like any ladder, and it'll match you appropriately. So we're in a new season. You can have fun. It gets addictive. I'll admit that. It gets addictive and pretty competitive, as you can see here from ProBots. But for yourself, it can be, you know, hyper specific on your level. So just like playing StarCraft, just with I would say, no, it's actually just like same amount of frustration. I had to think about it for half a second. I was like, no, it just is frustrating, but fun. You know, that kind of fun frustration. All right, boys, we're at the end of the night. Any last thoughts?
Nope. We go. Just tune in next week to see who the first people to make it through to our bracket stage are. Should be some pretty good games then.
Yeah, it's only going to get better. Excited to see some more Protoss, some more Spellcasters, some more hard units to control. I think that stuff's just gonna get better and better as we get deeper. We'll just see more like surprising things that only certain bots can do, or certain bots are kind of the forefront of the meta of X unit or Y abilities. So yeah, stay tuned.
Absolutely. And last but not least, if you want to join me on Mondays to code with me, !join or versusai.net/join. Join me there. And until next week, though, guys, we'll see you here. Same ProBots channel, same ProBots time. Actually, not the same ProBots channel. Versus AI channel, but same ProBots time. See you next week.